victory is mine!
Yo, what's going on everyone? This is Opinionated Plays back again with another Dragon Ball Legends tier list video. Usually I do these every few months, usually after a big release or a celebration. I thought now was the perfect time to release one of these, considering we've had all the parts of the festival now accounted for, and obviously the most recent release being Gogeta Blue, who has shaken up the meta considerably. It's a great time to go over some of the best characters in the PvP landscape right now. And obviously, people want advice on their team building, people want advice on, what characters do I currently have that are useful in mid to high rank PvP. So, obviously, for most people, they're gonna, play casual PvP, but if you're somebody who plays high rank PvP, you might be looking at, some of these units and saying, well, these are some of the only units you're really gonna wanna run on these specific teams, right? So, it's different for everybody, but as far as I go, I rank these units based on what I fight. I'm constantly fighting people that are either God rank or top 3, 6k, 10k. I get a sense of what the meta looks like just by fighting others using these units. So based on this tier list, as you can see, the tiers go as follow. Peak meta gods, the best characters in the game currently, whether it's because of the boost system or the teams they're on. These units carry their team specifically. And they, they're just oppressive and they do a lot of damage, or they're tough to take down, right? Or they have special abilities that really mess with the teams you're fighting. So the next tier we have is carried by meta gods. These are the units that are like basically really good, but mostly because of the best units in the game carrying them. So in a sense, if you look at a unit like, Ultra Gogeta Blue, Yellow Super Vegito has increased in value based on his release, and it allows for Ultra Gogeta Blue to really help Ultra Vegito Blue, or not Vegito Blue, Super Vegito, to emphasize his attack power and his defenses, because he doesn't have to carry the load as much. So that would be a situation where you could see a character being carried by a top unit, right? The next tier we have is mid/cope. These are units that are really not that good in high rank PvP, but there's people who will say, oh, well, this unit's on my team and I really like them and they're really good. Well, you might be playing with them and you might have them high stars and you're not fighting top teams, right? So you think they're better than what they are. Or sometimes these units are just in a good position based on the boost system, or if they're being carried by two other units and you're running them as your third option. So you can either say they're mid, or the people are going to cope and say that these units should be higher. This is the kind of tier we're looking at. So the next tier we have is Wet Noodle. These are the units that are basically, almost trash level units at this point, but you might be able to get away with using them at high stars or versus the right matchup. We have units that really just struggle to perform against all teams. We have units that might do really well against one team. Some units only do a lot of damage versus Saiyans. Some units only do a lot of damage versus powerful opponents, stuff like that, where that would be the only situation where these Wet Noodle tier units are even remotely viable. And the second to last tier is Treasure Battle Worthy. These are like bottom of the barrel. Out of the units I have here, I didn't put all the units in the game, but there are certain units that will definitely fit here that they're kind of just like joke units that are fun to use, and you really don't want to bring them into actual PvP, even if you have them 14 stars. It's that type of situation where you can build a fun team to play within Training Battle or Treasure Battle if that's what you choose to do, but these units are not meant for any kind of PvP if you're trying to be competitive. Then obviously we have a tier here for meta bench options. There will probably be 5 to 10 units that fit in this because you're never going to bring them into battle, but they're worth going over simply for the fact that they might be buffing the top units in the game, and you want to know that they can help you build out your team for your bench and to make your best units look better. So those are the 6 tiers, and we want to start off with Tag Goku and Vegeta, obviously, who's the first one here. And I think this is a good example of a unit that really got power crept over the past year. He's over a year old now, could probably use a plat equip. I don't know if it's time for a Zenkai, but a nice, really nice plat equip would be good for him. if you have this unit at decent star levels, I think they're perfect in the mid/cope tier. There's going to be people who love this unit based on their animations, and it's the Legends Festival, LF from last year. People really are biased with them sometimes, but overall, they're really middle of the pack as far as power scaling in this game goes. I think the best opportunity to use them would be considering the lack of defenses they have. You want to have them at 9 stars or higher, and you want to have them, ran with other top meta units, and maybe run them as your third, if that's what you really want to do. Not saying you should do it, but if you really want to run them, that's probably your best bet. So they're really mid at this point. They need a plat equip. That's what I would say about them. Next year we have Red Vegito, who just got a Zenkai. He's actually pretty common to see in high rank PvP or any rank PvP because he's a free unit, and free Zenkais like this that are actually good don't come around too often. But the real thing with him is they basically have no other reds on the Fusion Warrior team that are worth using, unless you want to include CMZ in that, but he doesn't really buff the team. I would say this is your core red unit on the Fusion Warrior team, which is currently anywhere from a top 3 to 5 team by any person's standards, right? I would say for this Vegito, he'd probably be at the end of carried by meta gods. He's nothing special outside of his lock-in and support. His defenses are pretty good though, based on the boost system being active for him, and I would say he has card draw. He can string together some combos and obviously allow someone like Ultra Gogeta to come in and rush the enemy or hit him with his ultimate, or any other unit for that matter, just to claim a kill. That's really his main use. If Ultra Gogeta did not come out and they Zenkai this man, he probably would be in the mid/cope tier, but of course Ultra Gogeta has made a bunch of teams way better, so it helps any other unit that's on that team increase in value, right? So next year we have the Zenkai LF Super Saiyan 4 Goku. With this unit, he's still very strong, and he's still, I believe, core on GT, core on Sun Family Saiyans, right? He still has extremely high damage output and really good defenses. The only problem is his cover, situation where he can, cover save and against a rush or any card, right? It's being hampered a lot by how much cover nullification's running around in the high ranks right now, or any rank of PvP. Every new release has cover nullification, and the GT team is suffering a little bit because, not that this unit is any worse, it's just that I feel like GT might be missing, something that a team like Movies might have, which is extremely oppressive support and damage, where GT really relies on stringing together combos, health restoration, and this guy saving you from rushes. But if this guy isn't able to cover save you from the rising rush of the enemy, it really decreases the value of the team, because you're going to lose a unit, and it's not like the GT team carries any endurance or revival characters. So when you start cover nulling units like this, which are one of the top 3 units on GT, I think that's where you start to see a problem. But it really doesn't reduce the fact that this guy is still, I guess, carried by the meta gods, in my opinion. I don't know if he's currently a meta god. He's probably, he's still a top 10 unit, obviously. But I would still have this guy, probably around 6 to 8. When this tier list is all said and done, I think that's a good spot for him. And it's really not about him. It's just about, I don't see him as often as I was seeing him 2 or 3 weeks ago. Realistically, people are not running him as often as you would normally expect. And his value could increase, or it could decrease just based on the teams he's run on. Because if we're going to talk about the best teams in the game, it's going to be Movies, Hybrids, Fusions, GT. I mean, he only really works on one of those teams unless you throw him in the leader slot. And even on GT, he's 1 or 2 on that team. So, I mean, at this end of the day, he's going to be 6 through 8. If you want to say 4 or 5, that's pushing it at this point, because he's just not used as much as he was, and his value of his cover has gone down. So, long story short, this guy's still really good, and if you have him Zenkai, you should definitely use him. But at the end of the day, I don't know if he's going to end up at the end of the peak meta gods tier, or right here at the beginning of the carried by meta gods, but I'll keep him at the top here for now. If I think he needs to be shifted up, I will do that. Next year we have the new Sparking Zamasu that came out with tag Trunks and Vegeta. He's actually really good. He's probably on the same level as the LF Super Saiyan 4 Goku we just went over. The only thing is he's reliant more on, I guess, disrupting combos and reducing ki and stringing together combos from his green card and his card draw. He's really a unit that we haven't seen before as far as his green card goes, where you can really activate his green card in almost any situation to, I guess, keep the enemy in disarray and confuse them, because you'll be in sidesteps and this guy will just throw his green card and you'll basically be comboed for at least 8 to 10 counts if you don't stop the combo somehow, because he'll just keep stringing together cards. And the only problem with this unit, I would say, is the introduction of Gogeta Blue's endurance nullification on Rush does hamper him a little bit. I would have him anywhere from carried by Meta Gods at the beginning, right before Super Saiyan 4 Goku, or right after. For now, I'll just probably keep him right here, and for the simple fact that I don't know how well he's going to age. Anytime you have a defensive unit, even if they're really good on release, defensive units do have trouble staying relevant for long periods of time because stats are always evolving, and that actually hurts defensive units, because you might have a melee type unit have higher defensive stats than the Zamasu, and it's not really right that that's the situation, but you will see an offensive character in the next 3 to 6 months probably overtake this guy for a defensive role. So right now he's still really good. He's top 10, top 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever you want to call it. Right now I would say he's just not at the top. I think on release he was a little better, and then Ultra Gogeta came out. So that's what I would say about Zamasu. Beast Gohan, obviously a top 3 unit in the game. Most people have him top 2. I would say he's number 2 in the game, right behind Ultra Gogeta Blue. It's not really debatable, and that's why I'll say it right now, is, even when Gogeta comes off boosts, this guy will still not be valued more than him, because of the way Gogeta just completely overhauled the way the game is played, in the sense where you are scared to even throw cards at him, while Beast, you kind of want to aggressively throw cards at him to make him use his Vanish, to make him use his greens, to make him use his main, to get that Vanish back. With Gogeta, you're really just scared to do anything, and unless you are really good and know how to play around him, it's almost impossible not to get caught by his different aspects of his kit, right? But let's talk about Beast Gohan specifically. Beast Gohan is still an amazing character. He still does incredible damage, especially with pan support on movies or hybrids. He has pretty decent defenses still at relatively high star level. I think you can build him offensively if you want, but you can also build him defensively, and he will tank and heal a substantial amount. He has endurance. He has excellent ability to nuke with his blue card if he can go neutral with that, and also all the damage buffs he's acquiring with his special move damage allow him to almost one-shot a lot of units at neutral, right? So the thing about Beast Gohan, though, is he still fits on the best team in the game, which I believe is movies with Pan and Ultra Gogeta. I think it's relatively obvious that, Beast is not very far behind Gogeta. While Gogeta's on boosts, and he'll come off boosts, and he'll still be number 1, they'll be much closer when they're both off boosts and they're fighting alongside each other. It'll be kind of difficult to tell, who's more scary to fight against at that point. They're just going to be both off boosts, both on the same team. They're both going to be doing extreme damage and causing a lot of problems for you. So if you have Beast Gohan, he's still great. He's still a problem. But he is easier to deal with than on release, I would say. He's a little easier to deal with. People are more used to his, what he can do, how to fight against him, and that's what I would say about Beast Gohan. So, yeah, long explanation for some of these units, because they are some of the top units in the game. But for some units like this Angel Golden Frieza, I would say he's probably somewhere around mid-cope, and I could put him even in Wet Noodle, but his damage and, I guess, healing is still extremely good if you were to run him on an LOE setup or anything like that, because Lineage of Evil is not a bad team. It's just a team you have to have high stars on to run, and that's why I think this Frieza he's such a weak defensive unit at this point. He's just reliant on healing, using cards, and doing damage. But you rarely will ever see him in high rank PvP. But for the people who do run Lineage of Evil, still, they could still build this guy out pretty well to do a lot of things. So I think I would still have him ahead of Tag Goku and Vegito currently, because I think he is a better unit. But these characters will probably start moving down. You'll see how the tier list fluctuates throughout the video. So here we have LF Cooler. I would say he's gonna be he's gonna be a tough one to rank. I would guess I would keep him at the end of Carry by Meta Gods currently, because I don't think he's bad enough for the unit to be mid or cope. I think he still has increased his value a little bit based on the return of Fusion Warriors into the meta. That actually saves him from being mid, because he was mid the past month or two, I believe, ever since the Beast Gohan release. And I think it's fair to say that when the dust clears and the celebration is over, Cooler will still be a very nice unit to run. Once the teams start settling down, everybody picks the teams they want to run and not just running what's new. I think Cooler's spot will remain clear, that he's still a very nice unit, and he has a lot of good abilities. Obviously, locking with a strike card, locking in people, and then popping his main to either nullify endurance on rush, or you can just use the ult flat out and obviously do a lot of damage to Super Saiyans or Saiyans. It's just his teams are lacking right now. I think Movies is obviously the best team in the game, but Pan has replaced him on that team. So if you're going to run Cooler, it's usually going to be on Powerful Opponent or Lineage of Evil, and I don't think those teams stack up that well currently. He's still good though. I mean, the only time you don't want to bring your Cooler into battle is when Beast Gohan's there. If Beast Gohan never existed, this guy would still be top 10 to 15 unit in most people's eyes, right? So that's the situation. Next year we have Zenkai Purple Broly. It's going to be the first guy we just throw in the meta bench option, because he's worth talking about as far as giving a Zenkai buff to your Ultra Gogeta Blue on the movie setup. I think it's a really strong bench setup for Ultra Gogeta Blue, having double offenses from Broly's normal Z ability and then the regular Zenkai ability that he's also going to get. So it's pretty obvious he's going to be ran on Movie's bench for Gogeta Blue, so I just wanted to touch on that real quick. Now, as we have Ultra Gogeta Blue as the next character to talk about, specifically with Ultra Gogeta Blue, even not talking about the character yet, people are still pulling on his banner, even though they know his banner is absolutely terrible, because he's just that good. People are throwing every CC they have into his banner because they know if they pull Ultra Gogeta, even one copy, they're going to be in a great spot with a lot of teams, right? At 5 stars currently, Ultra Gogeta on boosts is still a problem. He is absolutely a force to be reckoned with. It doesn't matter what star level he's at, you will actually make so many people forfeit in fights that you'll kind of be annoyed that you can't even finish a fight with him, because you'll just be destroying people with his blue card spam, with his ultimate, with his counter, with his cover null, with his going neutral. He'll just overtake the game in ways that you don't even feel comfortable pressing a button. You'll feel more comfortable just sitting there not doing anything, because that's probably a better, smarter play, is to not even throw a card at this guy at most times. If you throw a card and his gauge isn't filled, he'll blast armor through it. If you don't throw a card and his gauge is filled, he's going to try to bait you into attacking because he's going to throw his own cards. It's just really difficult to deal with him every match, which in 80 to 90% of matches in most PvP, people are running him. If you did not pull him, there's a good chance you might not play PvP this season because you don't want to deal with him. And I don't blame you, because he's actually a problem. The funniest thing is they released Tag Trunks and Vegeta, who do extremely high damage versus blast armor. Not even them are a good enough counter to deal with this guy, because if you hit him with a blast card through his blast armor, yeah, he's going to lose a bunch of his health, but he heals so much he doesn't care as long as he gets priority on you going through that blast armor. It's just a situation where he does not care right now. Now, to be fair, when boosts end and this guy loses some of his defenses, he won't have as easy as a time trying to get that gauge off, right? It'll take a little longer for him to build his gauge up, in the sense that you might not want to keep him in there for a full combo to build that gauge up. You might want to take one card, switch him out, because your defenses aren't as good. Nonetheless, if you face a high star Gogeta after boost, he's still going to be the best character, hands down. He's going to throw his weight around no matter what. So specifically with a low star Gogeta after boost, he probably won't tank as well and have a harder time filling up that gauge. and also staying alive. But nonetheless, he makes movies the best team in the game. Him, Beast, Gohan, and Pan are the best. It's the scariest. There's almost no counterplay to that team unless you're running the same exact team or something similar. Gogeta is just him. He's him. He's the peak meta god. He could have his own tier, but at least Beast Gohan's close enough to the point where they don't need separate tiers. They're kind of similar in some ways, but Gogeta has a game-breaking ability in his counter, which really puts him over the top, especially on boost, right? So, enough being said about Gogeta. Everybody knows about him by now, so I don't have to spend any more time on him. And obviously, I've been ranting a lot about these units, but that's a lot of the top units in the game, top 2 units in the game, Gogeta and Beast Gohan. So, next here we have Zenkai Super Saiyan Blue Goku. I threw him on here, I think, because he, obviously, you're going to run some God Key, and you're going to see some God Key teams with Gogeta Blue. He's still going to buff your God Key with the Zenkai buff, so if that's what you end up running, he's still a good bench option for your God Key setup. But that's really it about him. You know what he buffs. MUI Goku, I would say it's really tough to rank him. He's somewhere around Vegito and Cooler, because as an individual unit, he's actually still a very nice unit to run. I would say right now, it might be better to run him than Cooler, only because God Key did get a buff with Gogeta. If you run Ultra Gogeta Blue and throw this MUI Goku on the team, he can do some really nice things as far as pivot role and trying to reduce sub count for your allies by just wasting time out there. It wouldn't be a bad setup. He also covers you from yellow units. So honestly, if you're going to run God Key, I would actually suggest this is one of your core members at this point. Not saying you can't use others, but God Key is in a decent spot now, I think. Just from Gogeta Blue alone, the fact he's on God Key makes God Key competitive. So MUI Goku wouldn't have been higher than Cooler 3 months ago, but I think now I'll keep him behind Vegito. I think Vegito's, obviously has more of a place right now, but at the end of the day, MUI still got value. He's still a good unit. He's just going to be carried by Gogeta Blue. You're not going to run MUI in leader and expect to win a lot of matches, right? So that's what I'd say about MUI. He still retains more value than he did the past few weeks. Here we have Future Mai. I threw on here because obviously Future got a buff during part 2 with Zamasu and Vegeta and Trunks. I think, she's still a core bench for any Future unit, so I just want to throw on her because she gives 25% to Future health. So that's a good unit to use for your Future team. Next here we have the Part 2 LF, obviously. Vegeta and Trunks, Trunks Vegeta, whatever you want to say. I would honestly put them like right here. I think they are a top 12 unit. Anywhere from 8 to 12 you can make an argument. I think, honestly, they do a lot of damage if they're on the field for long enough. They do need to build up. They have good defenses. Their blast damage is very good. They draw blues on their greens and heal 15%, I believe. They have a lot of great things in their kit, but the problem realistically is they still aren't a better fit for their teams than, let's say, Future Gohan on Future. If you run this character on Vegeta family, that's probably one of the only spots you're going to have a lot of success. If you run him on God Key, it's debatable whether you'd run him. You could run Ultra Kaioken, who I wouldn't say is better, but you might just say, well, my Ultra Kaioken is, I have 2 or 3 copies of him, and I only have 1 copy of this guy. You might opt to use him, right? So it's not a slam dunk. I think with this guy, if you have 6 stars or higher, he's competitive. Trunks and Vegeta, I think they do really good, obviously, anti-blast armor damage to Gogeta. You could take half the health off of Gogeta in 1 blast, so you can catch him. I've seen it. I ran into it. So they do have more value than they did on release, I believe. I think they go up a little bit. I think 8, 9, 10 is a good spot for them. You could say 11 or 12 if you really don't think they're that good. But I think they're very good. They're just a little disappointing for being a celebration LF. I think that's the situation with them. So if you are using them, you're probably enjoying them, but you're not overly thrilled based on the fact that Gogeta and the Tag Super Saiyan 4s are obviously better than them, right? So that's the situation with that unit. I'd say they're carried by the Future team. They're carried by Ultra Gogeta Blue on God Key if that's where you run him, and that's just the situation. Baby is... it's really tough with Baby because Baby has some nice value, but he's only good on one of his 2 tags that he's really gonna be ran on. So like regen is dead in the water, right? So that automatically cuts his value in half because you can only run him on GT, which means on GT he's still not one of the top 3 units on the team. I'd say he's like the 4th or 5th best unit on the team. So I'm gonna have to put him at the top of mid/cope because he's not core on GT. While some of these other characters are core on their teams. Regen's dead. GT has LF Super Saiyan 4 Goku. They have the new Purple 17 from GT. And then they have, obviously, Tag Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta. So that's 3 right there. You're probably not going to include Baby over those 3. But I enjoy Baby. I've ran him multiple times in multiple seasons the past 2 months. And he's still very competitive. And if you don't own the Zenkai for this Goku, you could slap him on your GT setup and he'd be really good. The only problem is he's still just middle of the pack as far as the whole entire meta goes because GT is a little less used and he's just not core on the team. So that's the situation with Baby. He's still a great Zenkai in his own right, so I give respect to him for that. Ultra Broly, I would say Ultra Broly's in a tough spot because there are so many good purple movies units that you're not forced to run this guy. So Ultra Gogeta obviously took his place on movies. It's the best team in the game. Broly was kicked off his own team that he wants to be ran on. So what does that leave for him? Okay, so he's a Super Saiyan. Nobody's running Super Saiyans. Powerful opponent. Rarely do you see anyone running powerful opponent, right? So in this situation, I'm going to say that Broly still can be in the carried by Metagods tier, right? But I would probably have him somewhere like right here, to be honest with you. It has nothing to do with Broly. It has to do with Gogeta releasing and him not having another spot on another team where he's carrying the load. He's still going to be your 2nd or 3rd option now on a team. Gogeta has thrown a lot of things all over the place. I would say 2 to 3 months ago, this guy would actually be peak Metagods or top of carried by Metagods, in my opinion, right? He's still a top defensive unit in the game. But it's just, you don't need purples if you have Gogeta Blue. If you have Gogeta Blue, you don't need a purple, basically. Unless you're running some mono purple movies or mono purple just setup in general, I don't see, if you have the same stars, Gogeta Blue as this Broly, you're not bringing Broly into Battle Prize. So I've seen much less Broly overall, and I think, his value is going to continue to go down a little bit until one of those powerful opponent teams or maybe Super Saiyans increases in value. I don't think Super Saiyans is coming back anytime soon, but if they have a powerful opponent release, that could help Broly, and that team could become better. But, Cooler and Broly back here, they're there for a reason. Their teams are not it right now, or even with just the movies team in general, they don't have a spot. That's all I'm trying to say. So that's the situation with Broly. Tapion, he's increased in value. I would say he's somewhere like right here, or maybe like right here. I don't want to put him ahead of Broly. I think Broly's just way better than Tapion. But Tapion is actually nice because he's yellow, so that's a plus. Number 2, Gogeta likes having someone on his team. If you don't have Pan or Boost going, you could throw on Tapion. He'll reduce his sub count by 10 and save Gogeta from a rush if someone's trying to take him out with a rush. So that helps Gogeta. Also, he carries 2 strike cards, and he gives allied strike damage buff, which Gogeta wants. So he is a unit that you can use on your movies team if you don't have Pan or Beast. He actually works great with Ultra Gogeta. So that's my recommendation if you're going to run Tapion. Only do it with Ultra Gogeta on your movies team. That's where he can actually do some work now. He lost his spot a little bit. He was released with Super Saiyan 3 Goku, who fell off the cliff. And once he was gone, Tapion lost a lot of value. But I think with Ultra Gogeta, he's a really good sub option for your movies team, right? So that's what I would place Tapion, right? So next here we have Zenkai Vegito Blue. I want to start moving through some of these units a little quicker. So Zenkai Vegito Blue, he's still a really nice unit. I would put him at the top of mid-cope. But the only thing, caveat I would say, I could end up putting him by carried Metagods. If you don't have Ultra Gogeta, this is your next best option for your fusion team, which is arguably a top 3 team in the game currently. So, he's going to be at the top of mid-cope. I think he still does a lot of good ultimate damage and strike damage, draws a lot of cards, so that's where I would have him for now. Zenkai Rose, I wanted to add him because he's going to be on your future bench if you have a red powerful opponent like the androids. That's why I have him on here. I do not have, just real quick, I did not include every unit on this portion of my list. These are the units that I think matter. These units to me do not matter. So as far as adding a unit like Red Rose here, he's just a meta bench option for the tag droids, and he's been that for Cooler as well, and Cooler still retains his value a little better now. So that's where I would have the red Zenkai Rose, just for bench. Okay, yellow Future Gohan, I would say you could put him somewhere like right here for now. I think that's a safe spot for him. He's not peak meta god anymore, and obviously I've said anybody with endurance, I don't think if they're that reliant on their endurance like Zamasu and Future Gohan, they're probably not going to retain their value that well. They're still going to be forces to be reckoned with as long as Gogeta's not throwing a rush at them, right? So Future Gohan is a timeless support. He's been in the meta for over 2 years, basically, I think. Almost 2 years, I guess. He's not going anywhere anytime soon, because no matter what release comes out, he stays with it. People still run him, right? So Future Gohan, similar to Zamasu, they're on the same team of Future, but Future Gohan also has a spot on the Hybrids team, but Movies is now superior to Hybrids, so that also causes Future Gohan to lose a little bit of value, but he's still a top 10 unit. He's still a great support, one of the best in the game, and one of the best disruption units, right? But obviously, there's better units than him, like Zamasu and Super Saiyan 4 Goku overall, who do a lot of damage and can tank. Future Gohan isn't as good of a tank, and he can't do as much damage, but he is still a great support, so we want to give him his respect there. It's obviously debatable with Future Gohan and Trunks and Vegeta. I still think Future Gohan's a little better because of the Hybrids team, but that's just me. Next here we have free-to-play Pod Frieza. I threw him on here because his event just came back. I think this Frieza is like a wet noodle unit. He's actually not bad. Like, he's not treasure battle worthy. If you're running a Lineage of Evil, he still can do really good strike and blue card damage if on the right setup. I think he's just a wet noodle. He can't take a hit. If he's meant to die, he has death buff, so he's a wet noodle. He'll probably be at the end of wet noodle, so don't worry about him. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is pretty... He's tinkering on wet noodle status, and then I would also say at the back of mid-cope, like, he is really... I'm honestly going to throw him in wet noodle. That's what I would say for now. He's not ran at all in any competitive PvP, because at the end of the day, his cover changes don't go off because of all the cover null. So if that doesn't happen, as soon as his 80% cut one time is gone, he will die from one blue card or one ultimate, right? So unless you have this guy 14 stars equipped up on your fusion team, I just don't see a situation where he's not a wet noodle unit. You could still run him at high stars, though. If you need a green for your Fusion Wars team, if you don't have some of the other top available options there, you can run Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, but he can't take a hit, and that's just a sad situation. And his damage is lacking. Free-to-play Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, I would say he can go with Wet Noodle. You're not going to see this guy, right? I mean, he's free-to-play, nobody really cares, but he is better than Pod Frieza. It's arguable with him and Gogeta. I think he's similar to Gogeta. He can't take a hit, but he does a little better damage. But at the end of the day, Gogeta has more things in his kit that are, more difficult to deal with. This guy just does blast damage, whatever. He draws cards. He's okay for a free unit. He's there with Pod Frieza, I think, in value. LF Majin Vegeta. This guy won't have his value really increase until, I think, more Sun Family units are introduced. Not even Sun Family, just Goku units, right? Like, we have some Goku units, but he's still not one of the best options to deal with them. Maybe this guy could use like an Awakened Plat. I think he has his Plat equipped. Maybe that can use an Awakened Plat to really increase his value. I think currently he's mid with Vegito Blue. I'll put him right behind Vegito Blue. I'd say he doesn't get used that often for how decent of a unit he is, but MUI has not seen much, and that was his main purpose, was to destroy MUI Goku. And now that you don't see MUI much, I think Majin Vegeta is not really having a specific place in the meta. So I would have him in mid cope right behind Vegito Blue. Zenkai Purple Goku, Super Saiyan 4 Goku. He doesn't really have a place except for Treasure Battle. I would say he's very old, and his Zenkai is very old, so he just deserves to be using Treasure Battle. If you want to run some fun Super Saiyan 4 setup, I think that's good for him. But a way better Super Saiyan 4 unit is this unit right here. The third best character in the game, the Tag Super Saiyan 4s. These guys are absolutely fantastic. Still, even after the Ultra Gogeta release and how they're green, obviously they still just have so many great abilities. They are AoE green card to gain or reduce enemy Dragon Ball. You can combo for days with Vegeta's cards, and then go into Goku and nuke with a blue. They have great tendencies of dropping combos on purpose with their green to really catch the enemy off guard. If you PV, or even if you don't PV, if you just see your opponent in front of you using a card, you don't have to worry about them vanishing your attack. Just pop the green card and you get priority, right? They have cover null as long as there's 3 enemies left. They do... The Goku portion does really good strike damage. Their teams, GT Sun Family, they're very good right now. So as far as right now, this guy's going to stay in top 3, and at worst in the next few months he'll probably drop to top 5. I think that's the lowest to drop, because they're the best tag unit the game has seen. They are the best tag unit, better than Trunks and Vegeta, better than the tag droids, right? So they're just retaining their value based on the fact that they're the best tag unit, and teams want to run tag units because they like having the color switch and the color reverses. So that's why they're a top 3 unit right now, and I think they'll maintain their at least in the top 5 spot over the next few months, because I don't see anything coming out that's gonna blow them off their spot, right? So moving on here, we have the free-to-play Red Goku. He's going to be here right with the other free-to-play units in Wet Noodle, because honestly he has a few nice things in his kit, but he's a Wet Noodle. He probably can't take a hit. None of these event-exclusive units can take a hit, but they're Wet Noodle. I mean, I would say even you could just throw him in Treasure Battle worthy, but for now we'll keep him here. Ultra Gogeta deserves a second here because he's seen his time at number 1. He's seen his time outside the top 10, but as far as I'm concerned, this character deserves to go right here, because Ultra Gogeta has now had a value increase based on the release of Ultra Gogeta Blue, and he can fit on your movies team or your fusion team, which is great right now. If you don't have Beast Gohan, you're going to run Ultra Gogeta on your movies team. If you don't have, I guess, Zenkai Vegito Blue, you're obviously going to use this guy over him, right? So he is perfect for the core of fusions, and he's an alternate option for your movies team, right? He still has a great nullifying endurance ability after using his 2 ultimates for 30 counts. He still locks you in. He draws unlimited blue cards, which Ultra Gogeta loves to have all those blue cards to use. His damage is not as strong as it used to be, and his defenses aren't there either unless you have high stars. I think overall Gogeta just retains his value, as you don't feel that bad about losing a unit if you have Gogeta switching in, because the enemy's going to be locked in. You can nullify their endurance, you can rush them if you take out their vanish. There's so many ways Gogeta can destroy them, because you have blast armor, you have blue cards. It's just spamming everything you can to take out your enemy before they can switch. So he retains his value as currently, I believe, a top 10 unit. If you disagree, that's okay. But Ultra Gogeta, even after a year old, is still retaining his value way better than these tag Super Saiyan Blue, Goku, and Vegeta, mostly because he has all those things in his kit that are still to this day top tier, right? While a tag unit, they just keep making tag units better, so these guys look worse, right? So that's the deal with them. Zenkai Kakarot Goku, I want to throw him here. He's still a really good bench for red Goku units, because he Zenkai buffs them and then gives health to any Goku unit on the team. So he's still a meta bench option. I see him every, a few times a season on Sun Family setups, or on certain setups where you see MUI Goku or any Goku, right? Like, they want HP for Goku, right? So it makes sense. Zenkai Rose, who recently got a Zenkai, a really good Zenkai, but with the release of Ultra Gogeta Blue, he's seen less use, because when you have the best unit in the game as a purple, all the other purples will not be used as much, because they're going to have a purple already for the team, and a lot of people run Gogeta in their leader slot. But as far as Rose goes, I would still say he could go somewhere like probably around Ultra Broly, right? Like, they're pretty similar in value right now. I would say something like that. It's not a perfect placement by any means, but he's outside the top 10, but he's inside the top 15 in my opinion. I think he's still a really nice unit to use. Obviously, the thing about Rose is he nullifies endurance on any card, on rush, anything like that. So that's his value currently with all the endurance units. He inflicts extreme bleed. He now does some pretty good ultimate and strike damage, considering he really didn't have any before his Zenkai. So it's nice to see him be a really good option for your future team. Or you can also leader slot him in God Key if you don't have Gogeta Blue. But if you do have Gogeta Blue, you're probably not going to end up using him, right? So that's the situation. Rose's a really good Zenkai for an LF. I think it's they did him justice, so that's good. Purple Whis, he's going to be, he, she, the angel is going to be in mid/cope, and I think somewhere like right here is good. It's kind of alongside where Baby is, because as far as Whis goes, obviously not as good as on release, but at the same time, holds a green card, has nullify special cover change. God Key has a little bit of a value increase. I think if you were to run Whis with if you run a purple setup with, I guess, Gogeta, he wants to use greens to nullify special cover change. It wouldn't be the worst idea if you want to go heavy purple. I think Whis can maintain a little bit of value at this point. I think some people would say, oh, he's a little too high, but it's just a support. Supports maintain their value, and being in mid/cope tier is perfect for him. He's a mid unit that needs to be absolutely carried by 2 other units, but still has some value in certain areas. So that's the deal with Whis. Tag droids, I would say they can be in the carried by meta gods, because they are going to be carried by whether it's Zamasu, I guess Zamasu or Future Gohan. They're going to be carried. It's funny to say they're not as good as Future Gohan at this point. I would probably put the droids like right here, because Future is a good team. It's interesting that I have Red Vegito above Rose in the droids, but it's just so hard to deal with his lock if you're fighting a team with Ultra Gogeta Blue and this Vegito. It's a very difficult situation for you to deal with, right? So, not saying Vegito's a better individual unit than Rose or the droids, or Broly for a matter of fact. I can leave him here, I could put him here, but at the end of the day, I'm going to leave him here because I think the Fusion Warrior team, him being core red on that team, some people would opt to bring this Vegito over Ultra Super Vegito, or anything, something like that. You could swap them, right? You could say, I'm not going to bring Yellow Super Vegito this match, I'll bring Red Vegito to lock in the enemy for some matchup, right? It's just a really interesting situation with him. So, Red Vegito is, a good Zenkai, but he's just really being emphasized by the fact that Ultra Gogeta will rush you, nullify your endurance, and you can't switch out. It doesn't matter. So that's the point with Red Vegito being ahead of Rose, the droids, Broly. But I can understand if you want to keep him like right here. It would make sense in some people's eyes. Blue Goku Black, never really had a time to shine. Not a lot of people summon on the banner. I would just put them alongside somewhere like he has a blue card, so Whis has a green card. We'll just put Goku Black right there, right? So that's a fine placement for him. If you have him high stars, which most people don't, you could probably run him as a sub option on Future if you don't have Zamasu or something like that. But overall, it's cope tier. Don't cope for Goku Black because you love Goku Black, right? So LF Namek Goku, Wet Noodle. I would say he's somewhere like right here with Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. I'd have him ahead of the free-to-play units because he's still got a nice little counter going on, but this guy can't compete. None of these units here can compete in competitive PvP scene unless they're being forced into action because you have no one else. Namek Goku is still a really great unit to use for fun, but if you're going to be fighting anywhere near the high ranks, you're not going to bring him anymore. He has none of the modern abilities that most units have, so we're just going to move on there. Revival Frieza was a top 10 unit for a long time, along with Angel Gon Frieza, but at this point I would say he could be somewhere probably like right here. He just isn't it anymore because of his teams, not because he isn't good, but his teams just can't hold up. Frieza Saga isn't a team, barely. Lineage of Evil is seldom used, only at high stars you see people using them. He's still got a great revival ability. Going neutral after revival is still really good. He supports, he does good blue card damage, good blast damage, but overall he's just not what the meta is looking for currently. He's still probably top 2 revival unit along with Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, the revival one, but other than that I would say this Frieza could see a return to the meta if Lineage of Evil or Powerful Opponent sees a return, but other than that, that's where he sits right now. Super Vegito, you could either put this guy in meta bench option or in mid cope, but for me, I'm going to put him in mid cope because he's still usable, so I'm not just going to throw him in meta bench, but he is a meta bench. He's the best bench in the game for Ultra Gogeta Blue, but at the same time, I would say this guy falls somewhere probably like right around here. You could probably say it's just a situation where you're not going to bring this guy into battle. You're not using fusions as if this is your best purple. He saw more play 6 months ago, to be honest. He could compete a little better. Him not having cover nullification and other stuff like that does hurt him. So that's the situation with Vegito. He's just the best bench in the game for the best unit in the game. So he could be here, but I'll leave him right there for now. Blue Pan, actually a valuable unit if you don't have Beast Gohan, because she's your best blue for Sun Family or GT. Well, not that Beast Gohan would be on GT, but she's your best blue option for GT if you don't have Super Baby 2, I would say. So something like that. You could put it right with Super Baby 2 right there. I don't know if it's perfect placement in this mid-cope tier, but who really cares about this tier? Because these units they could be interchangeable here. I think they all shouldn't be carried by Meta Gods, so that's what I would say about them. It might be a bit of a hot take to have this grouping right here, but whatever. We'll see. Yellow Gogeta Blue, I would say... I'm not going to say he's treasure battle worthy. He's probably going to fit somewhere like... probably like that. Because, I mean, if you have a 14-star Gogeta Blue right here, you can use him. Like, it's not impossible, but he's a wet noodle. He can't take a hit. I'll blue card him, one-shot him. He has no defenses to speak of, but he can do some nice damage and he has cover nullification. So he's not in treasure battle worthy. Still usable if that's what you decide to do. This purple coat Goku, I mean, honestly, I'm going to start moving some of these guys into treasure battle worthy. They're really bad. I mean, this guy actually was used a lot during Mono Purple days a year ago. But you have not seen him since, so I would just say you're only going to see him in treasure battle. I would say this too, and this guy as well. I think maybe this guy could be right here, do something like that. I think this Vegeta is better than these guys, so we'll just leave it like that. Revival Gohan, there's so many purple movies units as I've said. I would still say he has a place like right here. I think he's still valuable if you don't have purples for your movie team, but you know, probably still the best revival unit in the game and on the best team in the game. If you really need a purple revival for that team, go ahead and use him. He still could do some good damage and support, so that's good if you have him. I guess Yellow Piccolo has seen a fall off. He has a horrible situation where any slice damage will basically 1 or 2 card him. I think he might need, like, because he's a superhero unit, they might go out of their way to give this guy like a really nice equip that's awakened or plat, just because this guy was a hype release, like the first Yellow Piccolo in the game, one of the first superhero units. He's not carried, he's not in the carried by Meta Gods tier anymore. He's not there, so I would just probably stick him like right here. He's still got value. If you want to run the superhero team, that's still a good team to run. Like, that's a fun team. Can do a lot of damage. He just can't take a hit. Now that you see Ultra Super Vegito running around, if he's going to get destroyed by Ultra Super Vegito's ultimate with slice damage, there's no way you could survive it. So he is mid now, but it's not his fault. It's really the developer's fault for giving him that slice damage debuff. I would say he's still a good unit, but again, don't cope and say he's still great. No, he was great. Now he's just good or mid. A lot of these units right here are good, but that makes them mid in the grand scheme of things because of this tier, right? So that's the situation with Piccolo. Perfect Cell, this is a situation that's really sad because Regen cannot get a buff, Powerful Opponent can't get a buff, and Future, for the love of God, got all these buffs, but they gave Rose a Zenkai and he's better than this Cell. So at the same time, I would say this Cell could probably be somewhere at the top of... I want to put him behind Blue Super Saiyan Blue Vegito because of the fact Fusions and God Key is, you know, gaining in value, and this, even if Future's gaining in value, you're not going to run Cell. If you run androids with this and tag droids and maybe someone else in leader slot, you can make it work, but I would say it's not a hot take to say Vegito Blue has a little more value right now, even if Cell's a better unit, right? Because they're not that far apart individually. I would just say the Fusion Warriors team and God Key has made a little bit of a jump, and Cell is not being used on Future ever. His only team is going to be run on his Powerful Opponent, androids, and no one's running those teams. So that's my situation with him. Yellow Blue Kaioken Goku, who just got a Zenkai. Please do not go around saying this guy is any good. I would just put him at the top of Wet Noodle. I know he's on boost. He still sucks. I mean, he sucks for a new Zenkai, right? We expect non-LF Zenkais to kind of suck. But we saw with Super Baby, we saw with Pan, we saw with some of these other units, you know, they have decent value as non-LF Zenkais, right? So I would say you could say that, I guess, I don't know, Kaioken Goku should have been way better, shouldn't have had so much time restraint in his transformation, but that's what they wanted to do with him, so fine. Ultra Super Vegito, now this guy's gained in value. Normally he wouldn't be this high. I would say I would put him somewhere like, you could have an argument where this guy's like right here, or somewhere like right here. I think Gogeta's a little more value if you had him at the same star level, but he is yellow, so, I mean, you could make an argument. I think Trunks and Vegeta are still a tiny bit better than him right now, though, so I'm going to leave him right here with Red Vegito, because I think if you're running Fusion Warriors, you can make a case that you could pick either of these units as your third option in any given fight based on the opponent. This Vegito's that potent with his locking ability that he actually can be run over the sky. So as much as I love Ultra Super Vegito, you know, he's right there around the 9 to 11 area for overall units. And I would say that he still has really good abilities like restoring Vanish on main. His ultimate does great damage. His green card's good. His blue card draws cards. His defenses are still good because he heals on tap attacks or any card used by 10%. So he's still your core fusion, but he's interchangeable with Red Vegito. So like they're 3 and 4 either way you slice it. So that's what I would say about Ultra Vegito. He's still a really nice unit to use on your Fusion Warriors team. Purple Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. He was core on Mono Purple a year ago, but now I would just say you could throw him right in the back of Wet Noodle. No one runs Mono Purple, but I don't want to say he's treasure battle worthy. If you really want to run Mono Purple with this guy and be very high risk situation with your team, then go ahead, do it. He's still fun to use, even if he sucks. So Jiren, more so full power Jiren, is probably never going to make a resurgence until he gets his Zenkai. I could see him as low as, like, even with his plat, like, he is not it, man. He's not it. You could argue he's like right here, right? I mean, with Majin Vegeta, they're probably the same value at this point. With his plat, he's not bad, but a lot of people didn't summon on his banner, and at the end of the day, even at high stars, he's not scary. He should have been scary considering he's one of the strongest, probably the strongest villain in Super, at least the anime, right? Like outside the movies, he was the strongest. So he shouldn't have been. He should have been a broken unit, but he wasn't on release, and he wasn't with his plat. So he's just good. He's in the middle of the pack of mid cope. Don't cope and say full power Jiren at 14 stars destroys everyone. Don't do that, because even 14-star Jirens can't hold a candle to most of the top units, right? So that's the situation. This Super Saiyan 4 Goku had a little bit of time in the meta, but overall I would say he's your replacement option if you don't have tag Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta. I would just put him maybe like right here because GT's still a good team. You could argue using him. He's not bad. He does good blast damage. He heals on his ultimate, has card draw, so some good things in his kit, but you rarely see him now, just like these other two units. Free-to-play Broly, I've not used him much, but what I do know is he can be used on one of the top teams, right? He's on movies, he's on Powerful Opponent. Not saying Powerful Opponent's a top team, those are his tags. You can make the case that Broly has more value than some of these LFs, right? So, not saying I would do that, because I don't think this Broly is that important to the meta, considering he has endurance. Endurance doesn't matter that much right now. He has blast armor. A lot of units have blast armor. Other than that, he can heal, he can do damage, he can take hits. He's pretty basic. I think Red Vegito is way better than him with his Zenkai. I would say this guy can go somewhere like, probably like right here. I think that's a good spot for him. You're not going to see him after Boost Sends probably, but you know, he's a nice free-to-play unit. He's nicer than a lot of the other ones we've had. But Red Vegito clears, in my opinion. Red Pan, excellent unit. In my opinion, I think it's tough with her, but I think I would have her ahead of Blue Zamasu currently. I think, as far as Pan goes, Movies the best team in the game. She's your third option on Movies. Hybrids is a top 3 team. She's your third option or second option on Hybrids. So she's a top 5 unit in theory, right? So she fits on some of the top teams and is core on some of those top teams. I love using this Pan, obviously, for her support on any team you could throw in the leader slot. She's going to be timeless. Support numbers-wise, when you look at her kit, it's so high that it's almost like Green Vados from 2.5 years ago, right? So with Red Pan, she just supports so much while also giving a blue card, a green card, sub count reduction, locking main off green. Her main ability makes her go neutral for 60 counts. The only thing that hurts her now is she's not as good defensively. Her on boost with neutral was giving so many people problems because of her ki reduction. But now she's a little easier to deal with, but she's still so good for supporting Beast Gohan, Gogeta, and you can also you run Sun Family with, obviously Tag 4s and this Goku, so she can help all these guys, right? So that's the situation with Pan. I love Pan in this game. I know a lot of people hate her. I think she's a great addition to the game because you don't really see many non-hype units this good, right? So I think it's a great addition, even if she may be very toxic, right? So this Trunks is a tough unit to rank. Every time people do a tier list, they have a tough time dealing or ranking this guy. I think he's better than Vegito Blue and Cell currently, because hybrids is worth running. If you don't have one of the top hybrids, you're going to run this guy if you have him at any kind of good star level, because he is a great damage dealer and can definitely benefit from Pan support or future Gohan support. So he's your 4th option on hybrids, I believe. I think, unless you run the tag Trunks and Vegeta, but they're, who knows? You might run them on future over that. The whole point is, I would have this Trunks at the top of mid-cope, or I would stick him maybe like right here. I think that's a good spot for him currently. Not that he's, the greatest unit in the world, but he's still on one of the top teams as an alternate option, as a sub option. So if you're going to run him on hybrids, he will be carried by your meta god in Beast Gohan, right? And he'll do some good work there with if you run him with future Gohan or Pan, right? So he deserves a spot at the bottom of carried by meta gods because he's still a nice unit, and he never had a time to shine really. But I think overall he's a nice option for your hybrid setup, right? So, or future, my mistake. Future is also a team for him, but I wouldn't recommend running him on future. I think hybrids is much better for him. This free-to-play Zamasu is garbage. Wet Noodle right here with Kaioken behind him. Perfect spot for him. He's absolute trash. Don't run this guy. I would honestly say he's like right here, honestly. He's terrible. Don't even talk about this guy. I don't even want to speak about him. Disappointing to see a few Zamasu be that terrible. But anyway, this yellow Zenkai God Vegeta. I bring him up because he Zenkai buffs the tag Trunks and Vegeta. Good Zenkai bench for them if you run them on God Key or whatever. It's a Zenkai buff, right? So that's the situation. This CMZ got a plat equip, and it didn't really help him out that much. But overall, I'd say, because Future's a good team, God Key's getting a little bit of help now. Powerful opponent isn't really there, or Regen. But, you can make a case that CMZ is on a cooler level right now, or at the top of mid-cope. I think he's still, like, mid with that. I think he deserves a spot, like, maybe right here. I think that's a situation you could see and agree with. It's really hard ranking some of these LFs that I thought would be really benefited by a plat equip, but a lot of plat equips that came out this year for certain units did not hold up well. So CMZ, still a good alternate for your future team or whatever, but I don't know, man. It's a tough sell to run them over, or run him over the tag droids. Tag droids are still the best unit on future, and that's why he can't make it into carried by meta gods. Vados, I only bring her up to compare her to Pan. She's obviously just a worse version of Pan, and you're never going to run her because she can't take more than a hit or two. But she is treasure battle worthy. She is treasure battle worthy, or Wet Noodle or something like that. She's still a really good support as long as she doesn't get hit, right, or die. So next we have the Assist, Goku Black, and Zamasu. Obviously these two came out for last year's Legends Fest. They're pretty solid defensively, but they can't do any damage anymore. So I would definitely have them in mid-cope. I think they deserve a spot like right here, maybe. Probably like right there. I'm not going to spend too much time on them. They're still decent, but don't run them if you have something better. This guy sucks. On release, he was even not as good as he should have been. He wasn't even the best unit in the game, I don't think. But as far as this Goku goes, you could definitely throw him right at the back of Wet Noodle, because I have seen people using this guy in high-rank PvP when they know they shouldn't do it, and then they get one shot and then they forfeit. So he's not in treasure battle worthy because there's too many people still throwing him in their PvP, competitive PvP rating match. So I'll leave him at the end of Wet Noodle, but don't bring this guy into battle. It's a mistake. Wait for him to get a Zenkai. This guy, Vegito, only brought him up. Vegeta family's seen a little bit of value increase with the tag Trunks and Vegeta and the tag Super Saiyan 4. So I just want to say, if you're not looking for a Zenkai buffer, this guy's a really good Z ability for Vegeta family. I forget exactly what it buffs, but it's a high percentage, so I would just say meta bench option for him. That's fine. This future Gohan, again, He could either be your Zenkai bench for future, but I would suggest honestly to just, I wouldn't use him, so he's more like a wet noodle tier character. You could also throw him at the back of mid cope, somewhere like where this Whis is, something like that, right? Maybe like that. Something like that. I think he's a better Zenkai than Kaioken, so, you could throw him like right here. He's kind of on the tier of Frieza, but the thing is, hybrids in future actually has a little more value, so you could say this character is actually more valuable than these guys even, because there's actually more of a chance that you'd even put him on the team, right? So that's where I'm at with that Zenkai future Gohan. He's a nice unit, he can go neutral, good blast damage, but you're not really going to see him. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, the Menace from 2 years ago. It's really hard with this Gohan. I would just stick him like right there with Gogeta, because honestly, he just can't hold up anymore. No cover null on any attack. The only good thing about him is his ultimate and his last man standing damage. That's about it. You're not going to really see him in battle, so that's where I would have him. Yellow Cooler Movie Goku really fell off hard after his first few months of release, but overall, he's probably somewhere like, I don't know, something like this, right? I would say that's a good spot for him. He can't compete. If this guy runs into any good character, he's going to die, so it doesn't really matter with him. Same thing with this Gohan. He's obviously was not really great on release, so it's not a surprise he's not good now. But he is a revival unit, so I did put him on here. I'd say he could be like right here, right? I mean, that's about as far as I would go with him, something like that. Don't bring him into battle. There's so many other green hybrids you can use. I'm going to scroll down a little bit so I can see what else we have here. Okay, so we have LF Beerus. He's definitely treasure battle worthy. Right at the end of treasure battle worthy. But you could also throw him in meta bench option as a God Key bench, but I'm not saying God Key's a great team. They just gained a little value, right? So I would just have him at the back of treasure battle worthy. You can bring him in treasure battle just to be a scumbag, basically, right? Zenkai 21 she's a good buffer for Cell, but that's about it. But people aren't really running Cell, so I would just have her at I would have her at Wet Noodle, probably. That's where I would put her, ahead of the yellow Kaioken Goku. I think she's actually a better Zenkai than this yellow Kaioken Goku, which is terrible, right? So that's sad. Super Saiyan 3 GT Goku, another Wet Noodle unit. He could definitely go right here. Not really important where he goes in a Wet Noodle. It doesn't really matter. Ultra Kaioken, though, I would say he's a little more valuable right now. I think he can do a little bit of work. So he locks strike cards, and he's yellow, which is good. And I don't know if I want to put him in carried by meta gods. I think I will put him maybe right here. I think that's a good spot for him overall. If you don't have Trunks and Vegeta as your yellow for your God Key team, I think you could slip this guy in. He's actually a decent counter for Ultra Gogeta Blue if you really want someone to lock strike cards on him. He does nullify cover for 30 counts on main, and he could draw a lot of greens and get his Vanish back, so he still has some value in that sense. He still is an Ultra, and all the summable Ultras still retain their value, so as you can see through this list, right? So next here we have Free-to-Play Rose. I would say don't even bring this guy. He's probably right here with Kaioken. He was fine on release, but just like this yellow Goku, who cares, right? Actually, I don't want to put him that high. That would actually be a mistake. Maybe here with the GT Super Saiyan 3 Goku. That's what I would say. Revival Cell needs a Zenkai bad. He'd be a really cool Zenkai. I would just stick him right here. Nobody cares about him, right? LF Kid Buu is interesting. He has still a really good ability to get his Vanish back, and then he also gains Ki upon using cards, right? Or being in the battlefield every 4 counts, he gains Ki. He needs a Zenkai. They're going to put him back in the ticket shop, I believe, in a few days with the Legends ticket system. Maybe they'll give him a Zenkai because of that. Who knows? Maybe in the next 6 months. I would just say he's a Wet Noodle. He's right here with Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, probably. That's what I would say. Honestly, I might put these two ahead of these Zenkais right here. I think they're a little better. Fat Buu, you don't really see him anymore. It's a shame, but, he can go right there. We're speeding through some of these new, I guess, older units because there's not really much to explain on them. They're just not relevant in the meta. If you stuck with me for this long, I appreciate it. I know it's a very long video, but if you're interested in some of the higher tier units, we did a lot of those earlier on to get those out of the way so you can get my opinion on them. But as far as this ape Vegeta goes, I mean, he was never that great past a month of his release. So he never had the Saiyan Saga team actually that usable unless you're running like Yajirobe and like Yellow Zenkai LF Piccolo or something like that. That's about it, right? So with this Vegeta, I don't think he really ever had a great time. I think you could still slip him maybe right here. I think that's as far as you could put him. Blue Tien, he is... Okay, I'm going to put him in mid-cope specifically because people need to know that he is not like Wet Noodle. It's just his teams suck, right? Like, he is actually not a bad individual unit. It's just he's on Super Warriors and Majin Buu Saga. Nobody wants to run those teams. I put him right around, like, right here, right? I'm honestly now debating if this tags Goku and Vegeta right here. Should they be a little higher? I mean, maybe. You can stick them, like, right there. I think that's fair. Next here we have the Zenkai Fisku from the Broly movie. The fact that movies is the best team in the game makes this guy runnable. I would just say that him being reliant on his endurance, really, that's really one of his calling cards, isn't great for him. I could still see him being somewhere like, I don't know, maybe like right there. I don't really know where to rank this guy because I haven't seen him in so long, but I know he's still decent. LF Bardock got a plat. Moving on to him. No, he's not going that high. I would say he's definitely in mid-cope, and he's been in probably mid-cope for his entire career, so I would just stick, even with a plat, right? Like, even with a plat. This guy isn't good. He's just decent now. Like, he's decent to use, right? His teams suck. His Fascia Tora team is a joke at this point, running EXs. It's not going to work, so... As far as him with a plat equip, I could say he's probably got a little bit of value on this revival. I'd say he's somewhere like right there, if you're going to be honest. You can run him leader slot, get that HP for your team. That's what I would recommend. Okay, so we're through a lot of units now. We got a unit like Red Kale, who nobody cares about, but we'll see. She is absolutely garbage. I would say maybe even treasure battle worthy. No, we'll put her like Wet Noodle. It's not that she's even she's not the worst defensive unit in the world. She just does no damage, no like nothing important. She's basically trash, let's be honest. Angel Vegeta. Support units retain their value a little bit, even old ones. I think he still has a spot like right here. He's not treasure battle worthy. He's still a Wet Noodle. You can't take a hit. I mean, one blue card's gonna kill this guy from most top units. Super Saiyan 3 LF Goku. We'll talk about this guy for a sec because movies is meta right now, and it's been meta for a while. I would say this Goku really fell off hard. I think he definitely fits in along these cast of characters right here. I think just the fact that movies is relevant, and if you need a sub option for movies, you can run this character. I would still have him right around like Zamasu level. That's where I would personally have him. I think that's fair. And LF Cell is only that low because of his teams, and the only team you're really going to run him on, obviously, is Future. So I hate having him that low, but LF Super Saiyan 3 Goku is really good. Cover nullification-wise and damage-wise, but he cannot take a hit, just like a lot of other units. He just can't take a hit. He's not taking a hit. So, and he's not doing enough damage to make up for that lack of tanking, right? Next here, we have Yellow Goku Black. I left him here because he's a meta bench option for once, right? We have two very noticeably heavily used future units that are yellow. We have the tag Trunks and Vegeta right here, right? And then we have the yellow future Gohan as well. So that's obviously two characters that can be Zenkai buffed on future with that yellow Goku Black. So that's the only reason I have him there. Next here we have the LF Zenkai Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. He fell off not because of his own fault, but because there's just a lot of better units that could be used over him on his teams. Vegeta Family God Key Future. He's not core anymore, so I would just have him somewhere like Bardock level. I think maybe Revival Gohan and Bardock, and he could fit right in between, so that's a good spot for him. And it's potential that you could even have him like right ahead of Jiren here, or below Jiren, maybe something like that. I could honestly see that. So I'm going to leave him right there. Not saying it's gospel or anything, but it's decent, right? Super Saiyan Bardock is absolutely going to be at the back of mid and cope because no one can run Super Saiyans with Pan's debuff going around. If you were not aware, Pan reduces critical rate by almost, I believe it's 40 to 50%, something like that. Bardock was never seen again after that, right? So you could still run Bardock and Super Saiyans if you want. he's going to obviously sit like right here. There's no hope for him returning until Pan leaves, right? So that's the situation. Moving on, we have purple Zamasu, Fuse Zamasu. He's a decent bench, right? Like he gets Zenkai buff. Some purple future units that are God Key. I believe he buffs God Key with his Zenkai ability. But I'm not going to throw him in meta bench options because he's still not deserving of only being a bench unit. He can actually do okay late game if he gets hit enough, building up damage buffs, but at the end of the day, he deserves to be somewhere like right here, I think. This God Goku I brought in just because he's the best health buffer for God Key, and if you ever got a Zenkai, that'd be amazing. I could see that happening maybe in the next 3 to 6 months for MUI Goku needing a Zenkai bench to increase his value. Yellow Android 18, the menace that once was, I would say she is no longer even mid-cope. I think she's now just back here with these other wannabe good units, right? So you could definitely throw her, I guess, somewhere like right here. She doesn't really have any value anymore. No modern abilities. The LF Trunks from Legends Festival last year is still a decent unit, but he's been replaced. I think Zamasu has obviously taken over for him, and then obviously there's no place for units so reliant on a defensive gauge and as well as I guess endurance. It's not really necessary to run this guy unless you really want to run a blue on your future team. He can't be run on hybrids. You can only be run on Vegeta Family and Future, and you're only going to run him on Future probably, and that's the situation. So he still has more value than Tag Goku and Vegeta down there, but I would still only have him maybe up here. I could see a situation where he's like around Revival Frieza baby level, something like this. That's as far as I would go. Next we have Zenkai Great Saiyaman 1 and 2. I would say they're a good Zenkai bench for Pan. That's really about it. Any red movies, I believe, or if it's red hybrids, whatever their ability is, you could just say that they're, honestly, I kind of want to put them in the meta bench, but they're good enough to use if you don't have a good red for your hybrid and movies team. They're a good support. They have good abilities, so I would say something around baby level, something like that. I think it's fair because people were running them before Pan came out as on-core movies at times, so they are not bad at all. They're underrated. I think people disrespect them, but now that Pan's out, you're not going to use them as your core. So this yellow Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks health bench for fusions. Hope he gets a Zenkai. Ultra Omega obviously needs a Plat Equip or a Zenkai. They're probably not going to Zenkai him for a while though, because they haven't Zenkai'd any Ultras, even the free-to-play ones. So I would just say he's absolutely mid. He could be at the back of mid basically. Something like this even. Like he's really not good. That's actually too generous. He deserves to be in Wet Noodle. Like no one's running this guy. He doesn't have any modern abilities in my opinion. He can't fate on Ultimate. He was okay defensively when he came out. I'm going to put him around where this Zamasu is. They fit pretty well together. Oh, this red Trunks is really bad. The Mayan Trunks never had a chance to really be any good. They weren't good on release, so I would just have them around this green Zamasu level. That's how bad they are, honestly, when you think about it. Or you could even put them lower, maybe like that. Who knows? They're old. Purple, Super Saiyan Blue, Vegeta. Very important bench option for your God Key team if you're running Gogeta Blue there. I would say that's not a bad option for you. He's obviously not worth using in your main core, but he's still, got a lot of value as a bench buffer, right? So I could put him on the same level as like this Bardock, right, as a bench buffer. But overall, most of the time, you're not going to bring him into battle. So that's where I would stand on them. So this is how many units we have left to go. I'm going to start moving through these quickly because they are not meta. I might not even give them that many words on them. Eva Vegeta needs a Plat or a Zenkai. Thank you very much. We'll put him in the mid/cope area, or you can even put him in Wet Noodle. I would just say maybe, who's better, Zenkai Kaioken or Evo? That's really up for debate. So since that's up for debate, you're probably screwed either way, so I'll put him like right there. Caulifla and Kale, absolute garbage. I would put them at the bottom here at Wet Noodle. Maybe with the tag Trunks in mind, but I'll put them a little higher because at least, they have some better abilities, I think. LF Final Form Frieza still has value on an LOE setup. Powerful opponent is non-existent, but I think this guy with Golden Frieza right here, they're around the same value, and that's where they usually were. They were similar value when they were at their height. This guy, Zenkai buffs for LOE, I would just put him. I don't want to put him wet noodle because he's not like a wet noodle. He's really good defensively on cover, but as far as usability goes, you're not going to use this guy. I guess I'm going to put him in wet noodle, right with Ultra Omega or something like that. I think that's as far as it goes. First form Frieza, the LF Zenkai, actually had a really good resurgence when LOE was back earlier in 2022, early 2022. I would still put him right around here. That's basically the LOE trio, and then there's Revival Frieza right there. So that's basically what you were seeing almost a year ago now. Next here we have Yellow. This guy sucks. I'm sorry. I'm just going to put him meta bench option. He's a meta bench option for your powerful opponent team. Second Coming Broly sucks. This Zenkai Green Goku, I never liked him when he Zenkai'd. I thought he was pretty average, and now he's not good. I would just put him in Wet Noodle Zenkai. Maybe like right here with 21. This GT Goku was never good on release, and he's probably a good bench for your Sun family setup, I guess. I mean, I'm not seeing many people run this guy on their Sun family bench, though, unless they're running MUI Goku. I guess that's interesting. I guess I'll just throw him in Wet Noodle because he can be used, he's just not good. It's that simple, so I'll throw him like right here. Maybe right there. Next we have Ultra Super Saiyan Goku. I think Ultra Super Saiyan Goku will be the first Ultra Zenkai, because they're probably going to do a free-to-play Zenkai before they do a summonable Ultra Zenkai, which none of them need at all. He is a wet noodle, which is sad, but he deserves to be really low. Probably somewhere like around the yellow Goku level, like right here, or even lower. You could even put him with Khalifa and Kale, basically, right? The purple free-to-play Super Saiyan Gogeta from the Broly movie. I would say this Gogeta was okay on release. Now he's below average. You're not going to use him on fusions. I'd still run Super Vegito over him, honestly, but I'd still keep him in mid-cope or the top of Wet Noodle. I'm just looking through who he would even be around. These guys are around the same level. It's not important where I rank these guys, honestly. They're in Wet Noodle, they're in Cope. Nobody cares where they're really ranked that much. Unless you're at the top of mid-cope, then you have an argument, right? Green Trunks here from 3rd Anniversary. He's good as a bench for hybrids, I'll say that. He's a really good bench for hybrids. That's the truth. So I might even put him right here. I think he actually puts in work for the hybrids team on bench. Now he's obviously better than some of these units in Wet Noodle over here, but I think he has to be recognized as a meta bench option. He really is. LF Broly, what a joke. His plat didn't really help him at all. It obviously made him better, but it wasn't enough to make people use him, right? So I would still have LF Broly somewhere like around Super Vegito level. I mean, if people disagree with that, fine. But when's the last time you faced LF Broly, unless it's some idiot trying to be funny? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's sad because he's such a nice unit with nice animations, but he's just not good anymore, right? So I would have him somewhere like right there, honestly. Ice Shenron, I wanted to have Ice Shenron in here just to make sure people know. I have run Ice Shenron in Treasure Battle, so I want to leave him right here to make people understand that he's a really nice Treasure Battle unit. You know, he's really fun in Treasure Battle, I'll tell you. This Broly, God, this guy sucks. I haven't ever even used this character, I don't think. That's how bad they are. I never even brought him into battle. I think they just deserve to be like Revival Cell level. They're Zenkai and they're terrible, right? Green Ultimate Gohan is mid-cope, and he's a hybrid, so he has a little bit of value, and as far as Sun Family goes too, he could probably be right around this future Gohan, maybe even a little better. He does have the cover save. I think that might help him a little bit. I mean, is he better than Gogeta? Maybe he's at the top of Wet... No, he can't be a Wet Noodle character. He's actually decent. I will say... Let me do this. Let me put this, these two back here, and then move it up like that. I think that's fine. I think that looks good. Gamma 1. I don't know how to rank Gammas. They're really not that good. This green one's a little better than the other one, Gamma 2. I would say this guy's on the level of, like, Maybe the Zenkai Zamasu, right? Something like that. He's probably... See, these rankings aren't great because, obviously, as an example, this purple Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta is not a better unit than some of these guys, but he has a little more relevance, right? Like, he's just a little more relevant. Maybe some of these mid-tier rankings are off, but they don't matter that much when you look at the top-tier rankings, right? It'd be a miracle if people are still watching me rank these mid-tier units. They're not important, and that's the situation, right? So I would just have Gamma 1 at, like, Gogeta level. How about that? So, yeah, it's not as consistent at this level. There's, like, I don't know how many of these left. There's, like, 55 units left. Let's just start blowing through these, right? So it's a very long video. Apologize. But if you want to see all these units ranked, I'm glad you stuck around. So this yellow Goku is mid/cope. You know, he's movies. He's Sun Family. He's Zenkai Buffs Tapion, if that's who you're using. He definitely deserves to be, like, right there, I would say. Something like that. This Bulma is definitely a great... I'm not saying people play a Tournament of Power, but she's really useful in Tournament of Power right now. But outside of that, she's the 1,000-day unit, so I had to include her. Even if she's nonsense, I would have her somewhere, like, right here. That's where I would rank her. LF Goten, garbage. Good bench for your hybrid team, I believe, so that's fine. But other than that, I mean, what are you doing with this guy? Nothing. Probably nothing, so I'd leave him, like, right there. Green Piccolo got a Zenkai, but no one really uses him anymore. I would just have him... I don't know. It is really bad. Maybe, like, right there? Something like that, right? That's fair. Yellow DKP... Really old Zenkai. Super old. It's tough. He does nullify endurance at Steel Dragon Balls. Cool. Maybe, like, down here somewhere? These are really bad rankings in this area, so don't pay too close attention, but I would have this DKP maybe, like, up here or something like that, right? LF Piccolo, better than DKP at this point, because he has a Zenkai of his own, which... Transformed, he has really good stats, but no one ever uses regen, so who cares? I would say he's probably, like, maybe right here with the green Piccolo. They're probably on the same value level. Red Gohan, a little bit better. I would say maybe ahead of this purple Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. Nobody really uses him anymore. Blue Beerus, you know, I love Blue Beerus, but it's tough with him. He's not really meta. He was meta for a little while when Cooler was running around, but now he's down again. I would have him maybe, like, right here. That's where I would put him. Okay, so not too many units to go. Purple Chilled, let's see. Well, let's just put Meta Bench option if you're running LOEs. Perfect Meta Bench for LOE. Buffing Health Restore and Health. Perfect for that. And then this yellow Goten is Wet Noodle, boy. He is cooked. He was a good support for a while, but now he's done. So he could sit right there. LF Super Saiyan 3 Goku, a good bench for your Saiyan team. Outside of that, nobody's ever going to use this guy. I would put him right near Namek Goku because that's basically what you're looking at. I just want to move this guy up a little bit. He is actually a little better than them. Maybe like right there. Green Kaioken Goku, mediocre, but still decent compared to what I've just been ranking over and over, which is Wet Noodle units. I would still put him not ahead of Gogeta, right? Like, I think Gogeta and Kid Buu, they're at the top of Wet Noodle because they are Wet Noodle. So I'm going to leave them there. I'll put this guy, like, back here or something like that, right? These are not great rankings. Let me just be honest. The mid/cope tier and the Wet Noodle tier are so debatable, it's not even funny. But I think these top rankings are actually relatively successful, and you could switch a lot of these units back and forth. But overall, there's not going to be any more units probably in that tier, but we'll see. Let's go over this God Goku. I mean, I brought him in here just to say that he will be getting a Zenkai hopefully at some point, because his animations are really nice, so I really hope they do Zenkai him. But outside of that, he is a treasure battle worthy unit, definitely. This yellow Vegeta, I brought him up because he actually buffs Ultra Gogeta, so anybody who Zenkai buffs Ultra Gogeta deserves a spot on the meta bench option, and so does this purple Super Saiyan 3 Goku, because he also Zenkai buffs the Ultra Gogeta. So as you can see, you want to have those Zenkai benches rolling for Gogeta. This Trunks is pretty garbage. I would say nobody really runs him even on bench because his Z ability sucks, but I guess you could throw him, like, I don't know. Really tough. Maybe with FSK. I don't want to put him ahead of him, but maybe like right there or something. These rankings don't matter down here. But real quick, look who we have. GT17 all the way at the bottom. I should have put him higher before the video even started because he's that important. He's definitely carried by Meta Gods tier. But how high does he deserve to be? Well, I would say he deserves to be like right here, maybe. Or right here. I would say these, somewhere like that, I think is fair for him. It's very debatable. I'm really torn on where I want to have. I don't know if he's top 10. I feel like he's 11 or 12 currently. So let me count here. We got 6, 8, 10, 11, 12. So let's just throw him right there. That's a fair spot for him. He's excellent for the GT team. He's your third best option there. I think he's underrated offensively because he can nullify endurance on green and he can draw a whole hand with his mains. So he actually does have some capability there. I also believe that his health restoration is really good. After 30 counts, he gains like 30% HP back. So you can throw him in front of a combo and be okay after that. So he has good value there. He's a great disruption / support, destroying Dragon Balls and stuff like that. But he did lose a little bit of value just because new units were released. And then he moved down just based off that. But he's still really good. Here we have Mecha Frieza. Unit that was released the in-between the anniversary and the recent Legends Fest. He's decent. He was run alongside these guys right here. And honestly, he fits around there. Something like that. Maybe like right there or something. No one's using him though. Like, who's using him, right? So I would say... Hold on 1 second. Let me just get my full screen back real quick. And then I would say, you know, Mecha Frieza still has a little bit of value if you're running a high star LOE team. That's what I would say. So as far as he goes, nobody's using him, but he does have a little bit of value. This Vegeta is buffs HP, right? Gamma 2 is nonsense. He's nowhere near as good as Gamma 1, in my opinion. So he could be down here with the crap units. Red Bojack, again, power crept to hell. Defense units do not age well usually, so I'll just throw him right here with Gamma 2. This Trunks is pretty mediocre. He's not even a good bench option because his Z ability is not that good, right? So I'd honestly have him around Ultra Goku level. Zenkai Super 17. Now this is a guy we want to talk about. I'm honestly going to put him... I know it's you know, back and forth, but some units are better than him, or he's good enough to be in Wet Noodle or Treasure Battle worthy. But just for the fact he's probably the best bench buffer for tag Goku and Vegeta on GT, means I should keep him in the meta bench option just so people understand this is the guy you want on your bench if you have him. Zenkai 7, he gives double defenses to GT, and then extra 40% to defenses, I believe, on his Zenkai ability. So it really helps that team sustain and stay alive, right? So that's why I have him there. Majub, he's really not good anymore, is he? Nobody even runs him on their GT team. I'll just put him right there. Green Broly, he's not good. He is not good. I would say I honestly tried using him one match. It wasn't fun. So I'm going to throw him right behind Goten right there. That's a perfect spot for him. Yellow Super 17, though. I'm a fan of this unit. I think he actually does some work. I think because GT is a good team, you can make an argument to throw this guy as a sub option. I would have him somewhere probably like right there. I think he's actually really good with his Nullify Special Cover Change. This same N1 is too high, actually. I'm going to move him down. I think I would put him like right there. Next here we have Heart Virus Goku. I put him here. I don't know why. Oh, wait, no, that's not the units I'm looking for. I'm looking for this Slug right here, right? This Slug is a great bench for your Regen team, so I'm going to leave him there. But nobody's running Regen, but I'll just leave him there because he is a good bench there. Ultra Vegeta, I guess I would put him like right there. That's about as high as he can go because he's not very good anymore, and he needs a real plat, not the plats they gave on their events. You need a real plat, so that's what I would say is a Zenkai or plat for him. Purple Janemba, powerful opponent, Zenkai buffer, I believe. Really good in that situation. I'm going to throw him in actually the meta bench options. I know it's a very inconsistent second half of the list, but you can understand that you're only going to have Janemba as bench, right? You're not going to bring him in as a real unit. I've done so many units now, I'm just getting a little tired of going through units, so we're going to try to get through these as quick as possible to end this video, right? Green Kid Buu. A nice support, but really a wet noodle unit. You can put him right in your Fat Boo as a wet noodle. Green 18, she did not really last long. She was okay on release. Good strike damage dealer for her time, but now I would just have her like an Ultra Omega, right? Something like that. Blue Nappa, pretty solid kit-wise, but no one ever really summoned for him, and no one really used him, right? But overall, I would have him like right around Yellow Frieza, Blue Trunks, something like that. Vegeta Blue from the 3rd anniversary is really a sad situation, but if he ever gets a Zenkai, I could see them making him really good to redeem themselves. He could definitely be down here with like 1000 Day Bulma. No, he can go ahead of Trunks and Khalifa, I think. Yeah, something like that. 2 rows to go. We got Kid Gohan as Health Bench. That's really nice. Nova Shenron, right with Ice Shenron on Treasure Battle. Red Android 18, or not 18, I'm sorry, Android 21, the event exclusive one. Pretty much around this Green 18 right here. Blue 21, right? You could you know, still use her once in a while if you really want to lose, right? So you could throw her like right there. Who cares, right? Yellow GT Vegeta, I would say. He's actually a good bench for the LF Zenkai Super Saiyan 4 Goku, so I'll actually say he's a meta bench option. He's actually really good in that situation. God Topo, funny thing about God Topo is I used him for a video that my highest viewed video was me using God Topo to kill Beast Gohan when he first released in the first week. It was my highest viewed video because it's hilarious to see God Topo Hakai or just blast card to death Beast Gohan, right? But nonetheless, I would just say Topo is, you know, is who he is. He's not really good anymore, but you know, you could throw him with like Nappa, the same kind of abilities and stuff like that, right? This Blue Vegeta from the freaking 4th anniversary sucked. I mean, as soon as 2 weeks passed, everyone knew this guy wasn't good. I would honestly use this purple Vegeta over him. This might be the one of the the only modern Sun unit that's not higher than like wet noodle. He might be in the wet noodle tier, so let me see. Wow, this is not good. Not good. Yeah, something like that. That's perfect. Yep. That's tough. Red Gogeta, we can use him to Zenkai buff the Red Vegito that just got a Zenkai. If you really want to make him tank and do some extra strike damage, you could throw Red Gogeta on there on your bench for your Fusion Warrior setup. Red Android Super 13, I just keep him on here because he can buff the tag droids, which is really cool. He's always been good for that. Tien from the 4th anniversary. Let's just say these two can be treasure battle worthy, but this Goku is actually wet noodle. He can go right here with Gamma 2, so no one's going to use these guys probably, but they're actually not the worst units in the game, right? So that's the situation. Super Saiyan transforming Gogeta, I have him here because you're going to use him to Zenkai buff Ultra Gogeta on your Fusion Warriors team. So I'd actually just leave him in the meta bench option. He is meta bench. Same thing with the Super Vegeta. I think he can Zenkai buff Ultra Super Vegeta or Zenkai Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Even though his Z ability sucks, he still has the Zenkai buff for them. Majin Vegeta, perfect treasure battle unit with right in between Ice Shenron and Nova Shenron. Red Kid GT Goku, I actually have respect for this unit. It's going to be one of the highest last units. Let's see. I would say because of the situation on GT, he's probably their best red. I can see a situation where he's even like here with Revival Frieza even, near the LFs. I think he's actually a really good free unit. Blue Broly, have to mention him because he does buff blue movies, so not saying he's meta bench. I would just stick him in like right with LF Beers, but you can use him as a bench if you don't have anything better to use, right? For your movies team. Red Kefla, Jesus, what a great unit, right? I mean, she's the perfect treasure battle worthy unit on this list right here. I'd put her right here. What a great unit. Yellow event exclusive Cell, we're almost done here. Yellow event exclusive Cell is honestly, he was good for like a month and then nobody ever used him again. I would say he's probably like, I don't know. He's got some nice things. He's a little like death buffer, but that's about it right there for him. Blue Metal Cooler is actually nice, but LOE fell off, so I'll still have him close to the other LOE units, something similar to them. I think something like this is fine, or even maybe like that. He's actually not bad. Yellow event exclusive Trunks, another character that fell off bad once Cooler released. You can go up here, probably with Wet Noodle now, because no one's going to run him over any of the other yellows on their teams. Probably with the Gogeta there is perfect. And then the last unit on the list is green Zenkai Broly for your movies team. And I'm going to put him in the meta bench option for your green movies characters, like if it's Dragon Fist Goku or anything like that. So this is the list. Just going to take a look at the top real quick. Now, based on me only having 3 peak meta gods, that does not mean you can't do something like this, where you put him there, and her there, and I could honestly leave the list like that, right? But in this situation, I think these units, specifically right here, they set the tone for the game, right? Like they are your go-to top units in the game. There's an argument to be made that you can stick all the way up to Future Gohan, these 4 right here, right? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave 3 of my peak meta gods, and I think the rest of these guys are carried by the fact that GT, Hybrids, movies, and then movies and Fusion Warriors got an excellent buff. And let's not forget about Sun Family with this guy, Beast Gohan, and Pan. So these guys set the tone for the team. If you don't have these guys, you're probably not running that team, or you're running something that's worse, right? So in this situation, I feel like my list is pretty good. I would only pay attention mostly to mostly these 2 tiers, and then maybe some of what's in here, maybe the top half, maybe ending with green Zamasu and then further on, right? Now, if you sat through this full video, I'd like to thank you for joining me in this edition of the Dragon Ball Legends tier list. I hope I gave you a lot of opinionated answers on what I thought of these units. I ranked probably over 130, 140 units in this video, so obviously by the end, I'm a little bit shot on going over units that I don't even use anymore. But as far as the top of the list goes, Gogeta, Beast Gohan, Tag Super Saiyan 4s, that's undisputable in most people's eyes. And then the rest, when you look at this Goku, this Pan, Zamasu, Future Gohan, Gogeta, Tag Trunks and Vegeta, Ultra Vegito, Red Vegito, 17, Rose, the droids, and then Broly, Tapion, Trunks, Goku, and Cooler. I think this is a perfect way to sum up the best units that you can use in mid to high rank PvP if you want to be competitive as your team leaders or your second and third option. Obviously, you could throw in a mid cope unit as a sub option, or if you have nothing better. But at the end of the day, this is really what you're looking at as far as Dragon Ball Legends in 2023. So with that being said, I'd like to thank you for joining me in my January 2023 tier list for Dragon Ball Legends. And with that being said, it's been Opinionated Plays. And with that being said, I'll catch you later.
Let's do it, Vegeta! I just love a dramatic ending. Let's end this! Got it! Got it!